Good day. I am Mercy Jane Villacora. I'm going to discuss the stage of a moral development. Introduction. A major task beginning in childhood and continuing into adolescence is the discerning right from wrong. Psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg, 1927 to 1987, extended upon the foundation that Paget built regarding cognitive development. Kohlberg believed that moral development, like cognitive development, follows a series of stages. To develop this theory, Kohlberg posed moral dilemmas to people of all ages, and then he analyzed their answers to find evidence of their particular stage of moral development. So, since in a childhood until adolescence is discerning right from wrong, every person has its own moral development. Kay kuan pa, psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg believed that a moral development, like cognitive development, follows in a series of stages. He posed moral dilemmas to people of all ages and analyzed their answer to find evidence of their particular stage of a moral development. Label 1. A pre-conventional level. At the pre-conventional level, morality is externally controlled. Rules imposed by authority figures are confirmed to in order to avoid punishment or receive rewards. This perspective involves the idea that what is right is what one can get away with or what is personally satisfying. Ang free conventional label is the first stage of moral development. Ang pre-conventional label ay moralidad na kontrolado sa labas. And free conventional label has two stages. Stage 1, punishment, obedience, orientation. Behavior is determined by consequences. The individual will obey in order to avoid punishment. Halimbawa nito ay when a child does an action, hindi dahil sa kaniyang desisyon tungkol dito ngunit para lamang maiwasan ang parusa sa hindi paggawa nito. Stage 2, instrumental purpose orientation. Behavior is determined again by consequences. The individual focuses on receiving rewards or satisfying personal needs. Example nito is the tendency of an individual or a group of focus on assigned tasks and goals and tangible benefits of achieving them. Label 2, conventional label. At the conventional label, conformity to social rules remains important to the individual. However, the emphasis shifts from self-interest to relationship with other people and social systems. The individual strives to support rules that are set forth by others such as parents, peers, and the government in order to win their approval or to maintain social order. Ang conventional label ay acceptance of a social rules kung unsa ang right and wrong, and then we begin to internalize the moral standards of valued adult or role model. Stage 3, good boy, nice girl orientation. Behavior is determined by social approval. The individual wants to maintain or win the affection and approval of other by being a good person. Example nito ay, you do something nice to other because you want to approve to them that you have a good attention. Stage 4, law and order orientation. Social rules and laws determine behavior. The individual now takes only consideration a larger perspective, that of societal laws. Moral decision making becomes more than consideration of close ties to others. The individual believes that rules and laws maintain social order that is worth preserving. Okay, ang law and order orientation is the individual oriented toward authority to fix rules and the maintenance of a social order, and have the right behavior consist in doing one's duty and pagpapanatili ng mabuti sa iba and maintaining the given social order for its own sake. Label 3. Post-conventional or principled label. At the post-conventional label, the individual moves beyond the perspective of his or her own society. Morality is defined in terms of abstract principles and values that apply to all situations and societies. The individual attempts to take the perspective of all individuals. The individual attempts to take the perspective of all individuals and preservation of life at all cost and the information of human dignity. Stage 5. Social contract orientation. Individual rights determine behavior. The individual views laws and rules as flexible tools for improving human purposes. That is, given the right situation, there are exceptions to rules. When laws are not consistent, when individual rights and the interests of the majority, they do not bring about good for people, and alternatives should be considered. At this stage of a moral reasoning, the individuals asked when understanding the laws are created by the people coming together for the common good. Stage 6. Universal Ethical Principle Orientation. According to Kohlberg, this is the highest stage of functioning. However, he claimed that some individuals will never reach this label. At this stage, the appropriate action is determined by one's self-chosen ethical principle of conscience. These principles are abstract and universal in application. This type of reasoning involves taking the perspective of every person or group that could be potentially be affected by the decision. At this stage, the appropriate action is determined by one's self-chosen ethical principle of conscience. Ingon pa ni Kohlberg, kani nga stage kay ang pinakataas na kaayo, so dili jud tanang tawo ang makaabot ani nga stage kay lagi pinakataas na siya, pinaka highest na siya nga stage. 3 labels of moral reasoning. Label 1. Pre-conventional morality. Pre-conventional morality values based on external events. Stage 1. Obedience and punishment behavior driven by avoiding punishment. Kanang siya, acting to avoid punishment. Stage 2. Individual interest behavior driven by self-interest and rewards. Acting to further one's own interest. Label 2. Conventional morality, assessing personal consequences. Stage 3. Interpersonal behavior driven by social approval. Decision based on the approval of others. Stage 4. Authority behavior driven by obeying authority and conforming to social orders. Judgment based on the relative rules and law of society. Label 3. Post-conventional morality. Stage 5. Social construct behavior driven by balance of social order and individual rights. Social contract rules in laws of social goods. Stage 6. Universal ethics behavior driven by international principles. Ano siya? Guided by moral principles of justice.